Okay, you need to finish that before we record this podcast. This is mic check
so
1 2 1.
loud.
I know it is so loud.
I like it.
Freaking
Is that
eating.
how I always sound?
I don't know, but it's pretty damn loud. Oh my gosh. Alrighty, here we are. Another episode of the Unscripted Conversations podcast. My name is Jay.
And I'm Molly.
I'm glad to be back. It's been a couple weeks. I know when
They don't know that.
I know that they don't know that, but it's been a couple weeks since we actually sat down and recorded an episode because we were home visiting family
Yes.
last week. So we timed out our episode recordings to have one available last week and then this weekend. So yeah, here we are. We're back.
We're back.
We're back. How's everyone doing? You know, like we've been trying to pump out these episodes pretty regularly, and it's been fun because like I kind of mentioned to Molly before we started this podcast, it's nice to really just like sit down and relax with my beautiful wife and just have random conversations.
Why are you always so nice?
You know, because you make me feel
blush.
nice. Oh. Find yourself somebody who looks at you like that too. Like, yeah. But anyways, how you been, babe?
Good. This week went by fast.
It did go by fast. I was actually just telling a patient yesterday. I was like, a week ago, my wife and I and my son were trying to get out of Milwaukee,
Yeah.
despite the ice storm that
storm.
we got the night before. And then here we are a week later, and we're just like, holy smokes. Like,
And all the ice is almost gone.
yeah, the snow's almost gone.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. So if you're not from the Midwest or anywhere where, I think it was like Winter Storm Olivia or something like that.
I
She
know
had a
they
name.
name it now.
Yeah. She came through and dumped like ice all over the Midwest. And our flight got canceled last week, Wednesday night, because of the ice. And so we went out a day later at noon. And that should be a conversation that we have.
Yeah, we have to do that one.
Yeah. How to travel with a kid. That'll be an interesting
I
conversation.
feel like we do very well at it. So I feel like we could maybe teach people,
Yeah.
if not only about just being calm and like just go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's all they learn from us talking about it, that's perfect, because I think that's the biggest takeaway from it. But we could give them some tips and advice of like things that they need and how to get through the airport and, you know, things like that.
And even just like a comfortable reassurance that you can do it.
Yes.
You know, like when we first traveled with Conrad last November, we were so...
He was 3 months old, 3.5 months old.
half.
And he had his own suitcase, which he had that this time too, but he had his own suitcase that was full of so much crud
Yeah.
that we realized we didn't need.
We overpacked, but sometimes it's good to overpack because you want to be prepared.
Absolutely,
But
but
we
he
were
was a
overly prepared.
3.5 month old. Like,
Yeah.
I just like want to reiterate that. And we didn't even have to pack diapers because we were going to a home that already had diapers for us.
Yeah. Yeah, my parents bought us wipes and diapers. They had a pack and play, you know,
Yeah.
so a lot of stuff that we didn't need to pack, we packed. So we learned it.
Yes.
We
So
learned
we'll have
our
to
lesson.
share that.
Yeah,
one day.
that'll be a new podcast.
Yeah, we should create like a PDF file of like,
Ooh, I like that.
I could do that.
Stuff you should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your
That's my job. Task.
commission to do that. Cool.
Cool.
All right, well, this
Anywho,
episode,
what's our topic today?
well, we're going to start off. We're going to do something new. We had an episode that came out last week called Bold
Bold.
Conversations, or Bold Questions, Even Bolder Answers. So we're going to start off every episode by answering one question just to kind of keep things interesting. So If you didn't listen to that episode, there was a card game that we bought off of Amazon called Bold. And there's 3 different categories: bold perception, bold reflections, and bold connections. And they have a different kind of theme, obviously, with each question. So kind of keep it lighthearted. The black cards were bold reflections, a little deep. So we're going to go with the yellow card today.
Okay.
Let's see. Random.
That's my
That's your
drum roll.
drums. Okay, ready?
You
What
gotta
are
read
your...
it.
Okay, huh?
You gotta read it.
Okay, I gotta read it. Okay.
Go.
What are your pet peeves and what do you think mine are?
Ooh, your pet peeves. Ooh. I feel like I know this, but like, you hate when there's clutter all over the place. That would be your pet peeve. Like, I can't even just like leave like a pile of something that I know I'm gonna put away. Like, eventually it might be a day or 2, okay, maybe a week, because he will start moving it and being like, what is this for? And I'll be like, it just needs to stay there for a minute, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'll get to it. Like, I know it's there. It's fine.
I think that's one thing that I learned, obviously, being in a relationship and sharing space with somebody else other than myself.
Yes.
Is that I had to learn how to adapt to other people's like living styles.
Yes.
And I was very organized and very like, if you're done with something, put it away. If you're not using it, put it away. You know, so keep it clean, keep it clear.
Yeah.
And I think, I had to learn. That is one of my pet peeves.
Yes. Okay, I'm not sure what mine are, so why don't you just tell me what mine are?
So your pet peeve, I know your pet peeve.
Okay.
It's because I do it.
Okay.
It's when you say something and I don't listen, and then I ask you the same question maybe like a day later or even an hour
we just
later.
talked about
We
this.
just talked about that. So her pet peeve is when I don't listen.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts. Sorry.
What is that like sayings like I hear you but I'm not listening.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I can hear her say something to me but I don't listen to it. I'm working on it.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I try.
Yeah.
This is all the part of life.
You know something else you do that's maybe a little pet peeve for me, but I like kind of enjoy it and I've never told you actually do it.
What?
When we sit and watch a movie, this is you.
What is that?
You hum to yourself.
No, I don't.
You do. And I don't know that I call it a pet peeve, like I said, because I like it. So it's not like,
Oh my gosh.
I always am
Okay,
like,
so
what are you doing?
to kind of
over there?
piggyback off of that though, when I watch a movie, and I found myself doing this a lot lately because we watched The Last of Us, which is a really good show on HBO Max, by the way. I ask questions to Molly that I know she doesn't know, but I'm like, maybe she might know.
Oh my God,
Like I'll just talk through movies. It's so annoying. Yeah. I'm trying to like realize the fact like, hey, just shut up and watch this movie. Why are you asking her questions? She probably doesn't even know it because you don't even know it because you know everything.
But in the stance of that, you will like not pause the show half the time. So you ask me a question and then we miss like 5 minutes of the show and then you're like, wait, what just happened? And I'm like, dude, I don't freaking know. You were talking to me during it. How would I know now?
Yeah, and most of the time I'm the one who's paying more attention to the show.
No.
Yeah.
No, I would say
Sometimes you're,
90%
like,
of the
on
time
your
you're on your phone. That's you.
No, that's you.
No.
This is the Unscripted Conversation podcast. Thank you for listening today. No, it's all good. See, this is one of the things that we're learning from each other, and it's fun, like even though pet peeve sometimes has a negative connotation, sometimes it's like you can make it fun and you can make it a learning experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like hey, like
you're so damn
you're
annoying.
doing something that's my pet peeve. Like make it fun, make your partner understand that like, hey, that's a pet peeve of mine, but like, hey, like it's not so serious. We can work through this. So that's funny.
That is funny.
There is one more question on this card. Should we answer it?
Sure.
Which emojis remind you most of me?
appropriate or inappropriate ones.
Well,
So I'm just
this is unscripted conversation, so we're gonna answer that.
What emojis? I would think like just the big smiley face one, because I have always loved your smile, so that would probably be the one that like if I had to pick one, I would just pick like one of the ones with like the really big, beautiful smile with the teeth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what emoji I would think of for you. I mean, there's a lot, but I guess if I could choose one.
Don't say the clown.
No. Oh, okay. I know. It's the lady with the red dress doing like this.
Why?
Because you try dancing. Like that's the thing that you try. She tries to dance. Like, and I love it. And we'll have another podcast about dancing because Molly has like white girl dance skills and she's getting better.
I'm not that bad at it though. Like I can dance. I just like
dance
because I have rhythm. Like so like I can dance because I can keep a beat, right? Like I can like meaning like I can like stand there and like bob or like sway because I can
to the beat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not like one of those that are like clapping like on the wrong, you know, like
True.
You know, like so like I can do that.
You're getting better. I mean, and that real
I just like don't relax enough to like, you know, let your body sway.
Let it flow.
Yeah.
Let it flow. Hey, you did a good job though. We made a reel on Instagram. If you're not following us on Instagram, go follow us on Unscripted Convo Pod on Instagram. And we posted a reel of Molly doing this like Asian dance that's been freaking blowing up TikTok. Yeah. So go check that out. Molly's got some groove.
Thanks, babe.
Molly got a groove back. Well, today we have decided that we're going to touch on and talk about a subject that most couples should talk about and take the test.
Yeah, I think it's something that more couples are doing because it has been studied in things so much.
Yeah.
But definitely would be something we would recommend for people to do.
Yeah, and most of you have probably already taken this quiz, but it is trying to find out what your love language is, the 5 love languages. I first heard about the love language, oh man, when was it? It was probably in college in my psychology class.
It might have been the same for me, actually.
Yeah, and a lot of what I was kind of learning about it was that everybody's different, obviously, in how they receive, perceive, and feel love. And taking this short quiz, you can find it online. Just Google 5 love languages. There's also a book that you can read. But basically, it is a questionnaire that you take that asks basically how you feel love. And they'll give you 2 examples and you choose from it just based on how you feel. And I guess like I'm just going to read through, what the 5 love languages are, and then we'll talk about it. So the first one that I have on here, acts of service. Can vacuuming the floors really be an expression of love? Absolutely. Anything you do to ease the burden of responsibilities weighing on an acts of service person will speak volumes. The words he or she most want to hear, let me do that for you. Laziness, broken commitments, and making more work for them tell speakers of this love language their feelings don't matter. Finding ways to serve speaks volumes to the recipient of these acts. So, acts of service. Second one, physical touch. This love language isn't all about the bedroom. A person whose primary love language is physical touch is not surprisingly very touchy. Hugs, pats on the back, holding hands, and thoughtful touches on the arm, shoulder, or face. They can all be ways to show excitement, concern, care, and love. Physical presence and accessibility are crucial, while neglected or abuse can be unforgivable and destructive. Physical touch fosters a sense of security and belonging in any relationship. Do you want to read one of these? Here, you read these.
Words of affirmation. Actions don't always speak louder than words. If this is your love language, unsolicited compliments mean the world to you. Hearing the words, I love you, are important. Hearing the reasons behind that love sends your spirits skyward. Insults can leave you shattered and are not easily forgotten. Kind, encouraging, and positive words are truly life-giving. quality time. In the vernacular of quality time, nothing says I love you like full, undivided attention. Being there for this type of person is critical, but really being there with the TV off, fork and knife down, and all chores and tasks on standby makes your significant other feel truly special and loved. Distractions, postponed dates, or the failure to listen can be especially hurtful. The love language of quality time also means sharing quality conversation and quality activities. And then lastly, receiving gifts. Don't mistake this love language for materialism. The receiver of gifts thrives on the love, thoughtfulness, and effort behind the gift. If you speak this love language, the perfect gift or gesture shows that you are known, you are cared for, and you are prized about whatever was sacrificed to bring the gift to you. A missed birthday, anniversary, or a hasty, thoughtless gift would be disastrous. So would be the absence of everyday gestures. Give your visual representation of love, and our gifts are visual representations of love and are treasured greatly. Sorry.
So those are the 5 love languages. And when you take this quick quiz online,
it's like 30 questions, I think.
Yeah.
30 or 40 questions, something like that.
It's totally worth it. And it'll actually kind of open your eyes to how you feel love.
Yeah, and I think like once we kind of go into it too, like for me, there's the quizzes. It's something like the beginning is something like it is more meaningful to you for, and then you have 2 options. And so when I was taking it, it was really hard because between those 2 options, most of the time it was hard for me to choose between each option. I was kind of like, well, I like hearing I love you, or I like hearing you're really great, or I really appreciate you, but I also really like just having a hug and like taking that moment to just hug the person and just being in that moment. So when the 2 options were that, I was always like, I always had to take like a step back and be like, okay, which time do I feel more happy or more, like emotional feeling of love? And sometimes that was really hard for me to choose. And I think for me, that was proven in my results because, sorry, I'm trying to pull it up here. Of course, I'm not prepared. Because mine were broken down as first was acts of service for 27%, words of affirmation was 23%, quality time matched that for 23%, and then physical touch was 20%. So like all of mine are like actually very close, And then lastly was receiving gifts, 7%, because I had a really hard time saying I didn't like receiving gifts, even though I really like receiving gifts. I just feel slightly uncomfortable receiving gifts because I feel like I have to give them back. But I really like getting shoes.
Yeah.
And clothes.
We already talked about that in a previous podcast.
Yeah.
So when you took that test and seeing the results that you have, can you look back at your experience with love, whether it's with me, friends, family, and kind of see where your results kind of fit into those experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I feel like acts of service being number 1 is like makes sense because I think a lot of times in my past, relationships, whatever they may be, whether it was with an ex-boyfriend or, family, whatever, it always really meant a lot when I didn't have to ask someone to do something for me. It was just kind of already there and being done. And I feel like that's something we do well for each other. So I think that's still why that's at the top of my list, because when I don't have to be the sole responsible party, making sure the house is clean or making sure our baby's okay or making sure the dogs are okay or, that we have dinner on the table, that just relieves so much stress and anxiety for me that I get to focus on more things too then, So I think that's where at least acts of service comes in for me.
And I think that that's kind of where communication is key in a relationship, right? Because we have to kind of explain how to help each other. And I think that is one way to kind of figure out your love language is like, well, how can I help you feel appreciated? And then in this instance, it's, acts of service. So
Right.
I know on my part what I should do to keep the relationship, positive and to help you feel loved, to understand your love language.
Right.
So I think it's very it's key, I think. And I think all couples should do this quiz. And even if you're not in a relationship, take it anyways, because it kind of helps you understand how you feel loved.
Well, and that's what I wanted to say too. So the person who created the five love language is Dr. Gary Chapman, and he is a PhD who has studied relationships for X amount of years. I mean, tons. And he has been a marriage counselor and has done seminars and all these things. And what's really cool and what I'm looking forward to is that, it's not just about couples. It's also about single people, men. He has a separate book on just for men, which I find interesting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Teenagers, children, and then like a military edition too. And I'm kind of really excited and maybe we should buy the book and, kind of explore that before our children are maybe old enough to express that.
Yeah.
To learn a little bit the five love languages of children.
That'd be interesting.
So it'd be kind of cool. And I think that would be a really cool, second podcast to, kind of discuss because, children have their own way of knowing and feeling love. And, from my psychology classes way back when, gosh, guys, my 10-year reunion is coming up for graduating college, and that just blows my mind. So, but children are so adaptive to, or not adaptive, but receptive to, their world around them. And that's why it's, what is it? Nature versus nurture, so like the nurture part of, their life and stuff and, their surroundings. And for them, love could be just having food on the table, so it'd be cool to see what his idea of, children's love language is. What is that? Is that just mom and dad putting them to sleep at night, and taking that time? Or is it, it's something else, I'm actually kind of cool, excited to see that. So, it's not just all about couples, it is definitely for the single person, the single man, and, and then your kids too. So,
yeah, for sure. And I think what's interesting is that I don't know what your results were. So backstory, Molly and I took this quiz at the beginning of our relationship and excuse me, surprisingly, my love language has changed since I met Molly. So I think my primary by a long shot. Let me see. I think my primary by a long shot was physical touch, and the way that the quiz was graded back then is different than it was graded now. But so my score was 9 for physical touch, 7 for words of affirmation, 6 for quality time, 5 for acts of service, and 3 for receiving gifts. So back when we first met, physical touch was like a big thing, like the hugs, the holding hands, the cuddling, the embrace.
That's why I grabbed your hand on our first date.
Look at you.
See, I already knew your love language.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that too when we first met. Mm-hmm. She was the one that reached out and touched me first, held my hand on our
touched
walk.
Touched me first. Sorry.
Yeah, let's get this G rated.
That was literally a week into us talking.
Really?
Because I have this that we, you sent me this screenshot on March 3rd.
Oh, wow.
2020.
Okay, so keep that up. And then this is my new love language. We took this quiz this week.
Yeah, and we purposely did this because we kind of wanted to see if it was different. And I honestly was pretty surprised mine wasn't, because I felt like mine was different. But then I think going through the quiz, I was kind of like, I'm really struggling, picking between the two. And I don't remember struggling that much before. And I think it's just because there's so many ways that I feel loved from you. Mm-hmm. And I can't always really decide which one is
more meaningful. Makes sense.
Which is good.
So these are my results for this.
Yes, this week.
This week, 3 years after we met. Actually,
Whoa,
3
we
years
just hit our
since we first started talking in February.
I can't believe we missed our anniversary.
I know.
That's sad.
Okay. That's just one of the many.
That's one of the many.
All right, so this is my results for my new love language.
New.
Bow, 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 bow. That is weird.
We're kind of weird.
Yeah, we're kind of weird. Okay. Coming in at a whopping 33%.
Oh, wow.
Acts of service. Wow. Where was that on that list?
Number 4.
Number 4.
That was
so near
second from the bottom. That thing moved
Dang.
up.
Okay, so 33% acts of service, 27% physical touch, 20% words of affirmation, 20% quality time, 0% receiving gifts.
See, I think for me, I had to say that I liked receiving gifts a couple times because I get gifts from you all the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to feel like I didn't
feel
appreciate them because I
Gotcha.
really do.
Okay.
Can I tell you why I think yours changed, and you can tell me if this is like accurate?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think physical touch was so high for you because that wasn't something that you had for so long. So when you had it, or when you were looking for love or looking for that connection, the touch was what was important. And acts of service were so low because you were just okay getting tasks done, doing things by yourself, and you didn't need somebody else to be doing them for you. So that wasn't a show of love for you because you're like, I got this. I've been doing this by myself for so long. Like, I need you to show me you love me by touching me, telling me you love me, and talking to me more, like the words of affirmation. That's why they were so important. That's what I think. Now I think your acts of service is higher because you have that person that can help you, manage the house and do all this stuff. And now that you see that, like, wow, it's really nice when Molly does the dishes or gets the laundry done and I don't have to be responsible for that. And I know how stressed you get when you have all those tasks on your plate, that when I do them without us talking about it or like having that list, you're like, wow, my list is already checked off. God, I love that girl. That's my theory.
That's your theory?
Yeah.
That's a pretty dang good theory.
And
I will confirm that is exactly how I feel.
Good.
And how it's perceived.
Good.
Because I feel like when I was single, I was doing things by myself all the time. I was comfortable going on trips by myself.
Yeah.
I was comfortable going to the movies by myself.
And you had to do that to be enjoying your life.
Exactly.
Because that's what your life was.
Yeah. And I think because I wasn't really dating people and I didn't get that physical touch, so I was like longing for that, Yeah. Not that like our physical touch is not important now, because it is.
Oh, absolutely. We talk about that.
It's just ranked
Yes.
differently
Yes.
because now we have other responsibilities.
Right.
And I think when we have a house and we have pets and we have a child now and we have other responsibilities, it's nice that somebody is there to help carry that yoke with me.
Absolutely.
And lessen the burden. I don't want to say burden, but the responsibilities, really.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then for those listeners who don't really know us, we have, we come from two different kinds of like families, right? And I mean, I want to say different. I mean,
Different cultures,
different
maybe
cultures.
is better.
Yeah.
Like,
And then so, one of the things in our Asian culture is that, the husband is supposed to do everything for the family,
very traditional.
Very traditional, yeah.
Yep.
And then so I feel like that's my responsibility to my family, is to do everything and anything and keep busy to provide for my family. It's nice that when, Molly and I got married and we talked about our relationship, that we would share that, together, and that she was willing to help me with things going on in our lives, like responsibilities around the house and now with our son, so it's nice to carry that load together as a couple.
Well, and I think I grew up in a single parent family. my mom was a single mother. So like, it was never, oh, somebody else is going to do that for you, or the man of the house is going to do that for you, or, you know, whatever. It was always me and my mom got down and dirty and tried to figure it out. You know, like we tried to change the fans in the house, which you do, you know? And so there's certain things still that I feel like are kind of your jobs as the man of the house. Like, I'm not dealing with the electric. If I had to, I would, because that's the way I was raised, right? Like, you try to figure it out, and if you can't figure it out, well, then you try to call somebody else to do it, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's just because of the family I came from. Like, I can go mow the lawn. I can, you know, shovel the snow blow, you know, all this stuff, you know. So, like, I think that was helpful. I still remember your dad when he first saw me on the Ring cameras mowing. He was so mad that you were letting me do that, and I was like, Pops, it's okay, like I can mow the lawn, like I promise it's okay, I don't mind doing it. And I had to tell him, like, it, you know, because I've been mowing the lawn for how many years, you know? Like, you know, I thought it was really sweet that he, you know, was like, don't make her do that, like you do that, you know. It was nice to have that person to be like, you don't have to do that anymore, Molly, you know, like Jay can handle it. But I like helping still. Yeah.
And I think that's interesting because when my dad like berated me, he's like, you're the man in the house, you're supposed to do that. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, but she wants to help, you know. So I think that's definitely a conversation that all couples should have, is like how to help each other. Not to be selfish, not to be greedy, but to like literally just carry the yoke together.
Exactly.
And I think the best way to really understand your partner is to find out what their love language is, because you know it works now that both of us are acts of service,
right?
You know, that's our primary love language.
Yes.
We understand now that like maybe not giving each other gifts is like our way of showing love, or expecting that love to be translated through like for instance receiving gifts, because obviously those are like the very bottom of our love language.
And I think for me, like, I, you know, was kind of reevaluating this, especially as we were reading like the descriptions. And I think like before you start the test, like read the descriptions again, because sometimes you're reading like, which one do I prefer, and you're kind of like, I'm not really sure. But now after reading the descriptions, I'm kind of like, oh, you know what? Maybe I do enjoy getting the gifts a little bit more, and that's a little bit more of a love language, because I know when you buy me a gift, it's because you're thinking of me. And instead, when I was reading the questions, I was more taking it as, oh, I'm getting a gift and I'm supposed to love that. When in reality, it's more that you were thinking of me, and the fact that you were thinking of me makes me feel loved. The reason that you saw this gift, or you saw this shoe, or you saw this shirt, or, you know, whatever it may be, that you said, oh, I'm going to get that for Molly, was more because, oh, I think Molly would look really good in that, or I'm thinking of her and stuff. And so then I'm like, oh, I get it now. Like, you know what I mean?
You're like peeling back the onion.
Yes.
Like this is not just a platonic like thing.
No,
you're
like my mind is like
back the
right
onion.
now. Like, even like I was thinking like the quality time, like we talk about this and we have to be better about this, especially as Conrad is getting, our child is getting more, you know, aware of what we're doing. Like, we're on our phones too much. Like, we're sitting there and we're just scrolling on our phones. And so like for me, quality time, when you put down your phone and we're having a conversation, is like mind blown to me. Like, just like, because I don't know any other description right now, to just like have like this is our quality time. And like, fortunately, a little bit of both. It's, you know, doing this podcast, but us just like facing each other and talking, and we're not on our phones, and we're not worried about Instagram or TikTok, or we're not really on TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook, and, you know, Pinterest, and our emails and everything else, or every little ding that goes off. Like, this is what I love, like this quality time. So like, again, reading like those descriptions, I'm like, that's what it, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, yes. And like words of affirmation for me, when you're like, when I was filling out the quiz again. Like I remember like after we had our baby and I'd still be sleeping because he, had a rough night or whatever. And I'd come down to you're an awesome mom on a Post-it. Like those words of affirmation for me was like, okay, I can make it through the day. And so I love that. And I was like, oh, I used to send you little notes in your lunchbox and I haven't done that in a while. Oh, I have to do that because I know you appreciated them. And, that's one of your, for us, I feel like all of our love languages are pretty, close to
yours
equal
closer
in the
than
beginning.
mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Those first four are very, comparable. So, like it's just those little things. It's really the little things for me. Like,
yeah, I think for me is like a lot of the time when I think about like what I can do better, it always has to involve you. It's not so much like what I can do better for myself, but it's like what I can do better for you. And so understanding your love language, like now, like I have 3 solid categories that I can like show you that I love you and hope that you feel that I love you,
Yeah, wait, what do I have to do for you? Acts of service?
Acts of service,
That's
physical
it.
touch.
Physical touch. Those were the top 2?
Those are the top 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really interesting and it's really eye-opening to find out about yourself because I feel like that is something that it should be, your core. I mean, that's your core.
Right.
That's your soul, basically.
Yeah.
So
I think it does just like really help to just kind of reflect on like what makes you happy, what makes you appreciative of the other person, because I think sometimes that gets lost. Like, the gifts you give me. I mean, it's not that I never once didn't appreciate them, but now I'm like, oh, I appreciate them a little bit more because it's you taking the time to think of me and stuff. And, you don't always look at it that way, right? When you're busy in your day and whatever, you're like, oh yeah, I got another gift. Well, take a minute. And it's like, I got that because you were thinking of me, because you thought of me when you saw, you know what I mean? Like,
I appreciate that.
Thanks.
I appreciate that.
Gosh, I didn't even know this was going to get so deep today. And I'm
deep.
just
She's
like
peeling back onions and she's cutting them too.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. For those of you that can't see, I have a little tears in my eyes.
That's cute. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile for everyone to find out what your love language is and then evaluate yourself. Look back at past relationships that failed.
Yeah.
Maybe relationships
absolutely.
that you want to rekindle and find out why it didn't work out. Because I think when you understand the person that you're trying to receive and give love to will kind of help you evaluate, you and how you can speak other people's love languages and how to understand your own. Because, I mean, this is part of life, right?
Right.
It's all about understanding, and there's a lot of misunderstandings in the world. Mm-hmm. This is one other thing to really kind of just dive in and figure out, what is your truth.
Yeah.
And in this sense, it's, how you feel love. So that was really good.
That was cool.
I really like that.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was going to like have such an eye-opening moment during this podcast.
It was, I think this is what the goal of this podcast is to have these conversations, though we call it unscripted. It really is unscripted because we're just kind of going on the fly. But we have some points that we want to
Yeah, we knew what we were going to talk about. We knew we were going to compare and contrast like from our first time we did the quiz to now and like why we thought it was different. But my mind is like, I didn't know I was going to come up with all these revelations today that are just like, damn. All right.
Well, I definitely think that, having these in-depth and deep conversations with your partner is going to be beneficial. And I think I learned something more about you today, like tonight, just by this conversation. So
Isn't it crazy? This is crazy.
Yeah, it's good though.
It's a good crazy.
It's so good.
It's such a good crazy. Yeah, it's just.
And to be able to speak without judgment, I think that's awesome that we can do that. And I hope everybody can do that too. I hope in people in relationships, I hope that you can speak without judgment.
Right.
And I think that just makes the relationship better because trust and openness and no hesitations. I mean, granted, you should, think before you speak.
Right.
But
right.
I also feel like your emotions should flow naturally.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
This is not couples therapy. We just kind of speaking from our personal experiences. But go take this quiz, find out your love language, and spread the love.
Yeah.
I
Drop
mean,
your
that's-
results in the comments.
In the comments,
Curious
yeah.
to
Let
see
us know
what
what
other people's,
love
love
language
languages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that's gonna be it for today's conversation. Like, subscribe. Thank you so much for supporting our podcast. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube and Spotify. And if you have any ideas or want to kind of chop shop with us, leave us a comment in the section below. DM us. Let us know what you think of the podcast. And we'll keep pumping these episodes out as long as we can. And I think it's fun. I get to spend time with my beautiful wife and have these awesome conversations. So, till next time, this is the Unscripted Conversations podcast. My name is Jay.
And I'm Molly.
Have a good night. Have a good day. Wherever you are, we're there with you. And stay tuned for the next one. Peace.
Bye.